I was in the Badlands of South Dakota, Pennington County to be exact, in the early spring of 1936. I took photographs in the area, and while I was driving along the road in that area, I spotted a dried up creek bed known as an arroyo with cracked earth, and on it there was a bleached cattle skull. And this struck me as being a very interesting subject to photograph, so I got out there and set up my camera and took photographs from many different angles, and I sent it into Washington along with all my other material and labeled it as a scene in the Badlands of South Dakota. Months later, in July, there was a serious drought throughout the Great Plains area, and a picture editor from the Associated Press was looking for material. He found this picture of the skull on the cracked earth and thought that this would be a wonderful symbol of the drought in the Great Plains area. So he sent it out over the syndicated wires of the Associated Press, and it appeared in hundreds of newspapers throughout the country. However, the editor of the Fargo Forum in Fargo, North Dakota, saw this and realized that it was a picture that could be taken at any time of the year, and he complained about it. And it just happened that President Roosevelt was coming through North Dakota on a campaign trip, and he put a special issue of the Fargo Forum on the campaign train. All the correspondents read it. Well, by coincidence, I was in Bismarck, North Dakota, and I met some of my friends who were on the campaign tour and who were on the campaign trip, and they showed me this front page of the Fargo Forum, and I readily admitted that I had taken the photograph. Well, the next thing that happened, somebody went back to the Farm Security Administration files and found that I had taken many other skull pictures. This thing began to blow up into an accusation of propaganda photography for the government, and I was accused of carrying this skull around with me and planting it in various locations, and cartoonists drew pictures of me with a skull over my shoulder and a camera on my other shoulder, standing in front of dams and in front of great monuments and planting the skull and taking pictures of it. It became quite an incident. It was blown up into something, but it was partly due to the opposition of the press at that time to the Roosevelt administration's policies, and this was a way in which they could get back at them. This whole incident has a moral, and the moral is that the photographer should try, whenever possible, to control the caption that goes out with his photographs, because if the original caption that I had on the photograph, which is still in the Library of Congress files, if that original caption had gone out with a picture, nobody would have printed it, and nobody would have thought that it was a propaganda picture. Putting the wrong words with a photograph creates the problems for the photographer, and the photographer is blamed for it. So a photographer, I think, should be always aware of the words that accompany the photograph.